Welcome to the DPost Sports Chat. I'm Drew Rubenstein with Ed Owens here in Manhattan, Kansas at Bill Snyder Family Stadium, where the Mountaineers are getting ready to take on the Wildcats. And we'll break it down, Ed, with the four keys to the game. And if you can lead us off with number one.
Yeah, I'd say number one for WVU is consistency on offense. This team has had their bye week. They've set their starting lineup the way they wanted. They've got as close to a healthy Clint Trickett at quarterback as they're going to get. They've reconfigured their offensive line. They know who their receivers are going to be. It's time for them to start performing. If I think they're running out of excuses. They're running out of time. If they're going to get this thing going in the right direction, it needs to start today. They need to be consistent. They can't have excuses for why they're not staying on the field on third down like happened at the end of last week's game. They need to figure it out, and they need to start pushing forward.
Absolutely. 7 games into the season, they are who they are, and I think that feeds into number 2 in my mind, and that's discipline. When you think of a Kansas State football team, even though the Wildcats are 2-4, they are disciplined. Just kind of goes back to Bill Snyder and the way he's implemented his program. Right now, the Wildcats are the least penalized team in the Big 12. They're not going to turn the ball over. They're not going to make stupid penalties. They're not going to make special teams blunders. All those types of things to shoot themselves in the foot, Kansas State's not going to do. WVU, on the other hand, has been a team that has done those things at times. And if they have any chance of beating a Bill Snyder coach team, it starts with discipline. And I even go back to the end of the Texas Tech game. It's little things like wide receivers finishing blocks. There were quite a few times where wide receivers for WVU toward the end of that Texas Tech loss when WVU blew an 11-point second half lead where they just weren't doing it. Dreamus Smith and Charles Sims weren't getting anything going, and part of that was because wide receivers weren't finishing blocks.
The wide receivers need to finish their blocks for a key to the game. Number 3, the run game. We do say it every single week, and one of these days it is going to happen, but WVU needs to get its ground game going. They'd struggled for a few weeks in a row heading into last week's game against Tech. They did have some success in the first half, even early in the second half, and then like everything else, it just fell apart as the game went on. Baylor wasn't able to run. The Baylor team that we saw run very effectively against WVU wasn't able to move the ball against Kansas State, so it's going to be a tall order for the Mountaineers to get the ball moving on the ground, but they need to find a way to do it. They need to make Kansas State play them honest. They need to bring the safeties up. They need to help the receivers out in the pass game, and for them to do that, the receivers need to help out in the run game, set those blocks, and really break Sims and Dreamus and get those guys moving.
And I think that feeds into the last key on the opposite side. WVU's got to be able to stop the run game of Kansas State. I think we both agree that we expect Daniel Sams to kind of be the key focus and start at quarterback for the Wildcats. He ran for 199 yards against Baylor, and that said, Baylor only had the ball for something like 22 minutes because Kansas State was just absolutely able to dictate the tempo. Baylor's offense was obviously good enough, even being in those pressure situations, to still score 35 points and come away with a win. I don't think that's the case with WVU, so they have to be able to limit Daniel Sam's run game. They have to be able to get Kansas State off the field to be able to get anything going, to be able to get more offensive possessions and be able to put up points to win this game.
Absolutely.
Ed, I appreciate your time and thanks for joining. Please continue to check TheDPost.com. We'll have the blog up and running. We'll be back with a post-game report. Thanks for watching.